Thank you very much. Welcome to Medso African Motives. In today's presentation, we are on Business Studies Grade 10, Term 3 notes. So we are going to do Chapter 12. That is all about presentation of business information. Presentation of business information. So you know very well when we are talking about a presentation. When we talk of presentation, that is the act of communicating information or data to an audience or stakeholders in an organization. That's when we talk about what? About presentation. Presentation is all about, it's all about that. So in this presentation, what you are to expect is that we are going to talk about business reports. We are going to talk about business reports. We are going to talk about verbal presentation. We are going to talk about non-verbal presentation. So when you talk of business reports, that is when we are talking about written document that communicates information to assist business in decision making. So that is business reports. This is what we're going to talk about. So I have said we are going to talk about business reports. That's what you are to expect. We're going to talk about business reports. Like I have said, it's a written document that communicates information to assist business in decision making. We are also going to talk about verbal presentation. Verbal presentation. So with verbal presentation, this is a presentation that is delivered through word of mouth or in words. So that is that. Also, we're going to talk about non-verbal presentation. Non-verbal presentation. So we are going to talk about non-verbal presentation. So non-verbal presentation, that is a presentation that is delivered through writing and supporting material. So these are what we are going to look at in today's presentation. So thank you. Let us now move on to business reports. So now let us move on to business reports. That is that. So here we are on business reports, whereby we are going to talk about the importance of business reports. The importance of business reports. As it says, business reports enable management to keep track of every activity that is done in each department. Meaning to say, reports show that each department has done and how well it is performing. So that is that. This report is going to show, what each department, what each department, what each department has done, what each department has done and how well it is performing, and how well it is performing. So that is that. That's when you talk of what? The business report. So the example is that the sales department submits a monthly sales reports showing products sold. So that is that. That's the report that this department is submitting. Also, the report, the importance of business report is that it enables senior management with information on how each department is doing. Meaning to say, senior management use reports to compare performance. They use reports to compare performance. To compare performance. That is that. They use reports to compare performance of different departments. For example, a report shows that the marketing department reached its advertising targets, while production did not meet its target. So that is what we are trying to say right now. So also another important of business reports is that it provides information that leads to decision making. Meaning to say, reports provide facts. Reports provide facts. They provide what? Facts. Facts that is going to help managers to make informed business decision. So reports provide facts that help managers make informed business decisions. For example, a report showing decline in sales may lead management to introduce new marketing campaign. So that is that. So now let us move on to the guidelines. Guidelines on writing effective report. Guidelines on writing effective report. So the first one, it says determine the scope of the report. Determine the scope of the report. Meaning to say decide what report will cover and what it will not cover. That is that. That's what this point means. You decide what report will cover and what it is not going to cover. So that is that. For example, a report only focuses on sales performance for the first quarter. Hope we are together on that. Also determine the target audience of the report. Determine the target audience of the report. Know who will read the report. So you can use suitable language and information. So with this one, we're saying know who will read the report. Know who will read the report. Know who will read the report. That is that. Know who will read report. So that you can use suitable language and information. Once you know who are your audience, who are going to read your report. So a report for directors includes financial information, while for employees uses simpler language. That is why we're saying know who is going to read your report so that you know suitable language and information that you're going to use. The language that you're going to use for directors is different to the language you are going to use for employees. Thank you. Let us move on. Determine how the report should be prepared. Should be presented. Determine how report should be presented. So that is that. Determine how report should be presented. Meaning to say, choose the most suitable format for the report. Choose the most suitable format for the report. Suitable format for the report. So that is that, for example, present the report as a written document with graphs. That is that. Then the other one says collect the necessary information. Collect the necessary information. Gather all relevant and accurate facts before writing. That is what we are saying. Gather all relevant and accurate facts before writing. So that is that. You gather all relevant and accurate facts before writing. Collect monthly sales figures from the sales departments. That is that. So also it says prepare an overview of what the audience needs to know and details that should be included in the report. So here we're saying you prepare an overview of what audience needs to know and details that should be included in the report. Meaning to say you plan the main points before writing the report. Plan the main points before writing the report. Before writing the report. So that is that. For example, create an outline with sales expenses and recommendations. So that is that. Also write concisely or briefly and only include important information. Only include important information. So that is that. Where we are saying write concisely and only include important information. Keep the report short. Keep the report short. keep the report short. Keep the report short and avoid unnecessary details. For example, summarize the sales results instead of explaining every sales made. That is what we are trying to say. Use regular or basic language or simpler grammar and clear short sentences. So here we are saying you use regular basic language and simpler grammar and clear short sentences. Meaning to say, make the report easy for everyone to understand. Make the report easy for everyone to understand. Use a bar graph to compare monthly sales. That is that. Make the report easy for everyone to understand. Meaning to say, write sales increased by 10% instead of using complicated business terms. That is what we are trying to say. Use accurate or meaningful visual aids such as tables, graphs, drawings, and etc. So that where we are saying you are to use accurate and meaningful visual aids such as tables and graphs. So it means visuals help readers understand information quickly. Spend time revising the report and correct spelling mistakes and grammar errors. Well, with this point, what we mean is that you are to check the report. You have to check the report carefully before submitting it. So you have to check the report carefully before you can submit it. So that is that. So it also says get someone to look at the report and to make suggestions for improvement. So meaning to say another person may notice mistakes or suggestions better. So that is that. So let us move on. So now we are on the difference between verbal and non-verbal presentation. Like I said when we started that this is what we are going to talk about in this presentation. So now we want to know the difference of these two. Verbal presentation as well as non-verbal presentation. As it says under verbal presentation, the presenter speaks in front of the audience. So we need to say the information is communicated through spoken words. Information is communicated through spoken words. That is that. Information is communicated through spoken words. For example, a sales manager explains the new sales targets during a meeting. That is that. Also, here and then, the audience sits and listens to the presenter. The audience sits and listens to the presenter. That is that. So it means that the audience receives information by listening. They receive information. They receive information by listening. That is that. They receive information by listening. For example, employee listen while the manager explains the company's new policies. So that is that. So non-verbal presentation. Here the audience receives the message without the presenter saying it orally. So meaning to say information is communicated without speaking. This one is without speaking. Meaning to say we're saying the information is communicated before speaking. You'll find that, let's say, for example, a graph showing increased profits explain the results without words. So that is that. Also, it says facial expression is an example of non-verbal presentation, visual aids, hand signals. So here we are talking about the body language and visual materials help communicate the message. A presenter, for example, smiles to show confidence or points to a chart while presenting. So that is what we are trying to say to people. Now let us go to factors. Let us go to factors to be considered when preparing a verbal presentation. That is that. Factors to consider when preparing verbal presentation. So first they say write down the purpose of the presentation and list the objectives. So it means you are to be clear about why you are giving the presentation and what you want to achieve. So the purpose is to explain a new product to sales team. That is that, for example. So that is that. Also, it further on says, consider the audience. Example, who are they? What do they already know? What do you want them to know? So meaning to say, adapt. When we're saying that, it means we are saying adapt the presentation to suit the audience knowledge and needs. We are saying with this point, adapt the presentation, uh, to suit the audience knowledge. Audience knowledge and needs. So that is that. So it means use simple language when presenting to new employees, for example. So that is that. Now it says prepare the structure of your presentation. For example, introduction, body, conclusion. So that is that. Now we are saying prepare the structure of your presentation. So it means organize your presentation in a logical order. So that is that. Let your presentation have order. That is when you talk of introduction, body, conclusion. So that is that. For example, you start with an introduction, explain the topic, then summarize the key points. That is when you go to the body. Be fully conversant with the content of your presentation. So know your topic. Know your topic well. Know your topic well. Know your topic well. Know your topic well so you can explain it confidently. So that you can be confident to explain it. That is that. Create visual aids that will assist getting the points across effectively, memorable. So, meaning to say, you are to use visuals to make the presentation easy to understand and remember. That is that. So, practice the presentation and time your presentation. Meaning to say, rehearse to improve confidence and stay within the allocated time. We can practice 10 minutes presentation several times. That is that. Practice in front of someone who will provide honest opinion on the purpose and objectives of the presentation. Meaning to say you ask someone to give feedback so that you can improve. That is that. Information to be presented should be relevant and accurate. So it means include only correct and useful information. Have pre-knowledge of your audience to determine the appropriate visual aids. So meaning to say, that is when you choose visual aids that is when you choose visual that suit the audience age or knowledge and interest. That is that. Visit the venue and ensure that visual aids the use of your equipment and availability of generator in case of load shedding or electricity is available. So that is when you check that everything will work before presentation begins. That is that. Prepare your support material to enhance your presentation. So have additional materials to help you explain your points. Like you can talk of handout printed notes to the audience. Prepare the feedback session by anticipating possible questions and comments. That is when you prepare to answer questions about product prices after the presentation. So that is that. So now let us move on to. So this is the end of this presentation. Thank you very much for your time.